All right, so this is just my rule, it's you guys can do whatever you want, this is just my theory of how to run things. That's the benefit of BQool and the customizable rules. You can do whatever you think fits you. So kind of before I get started, that this is the rule I use for pretty much everything. I have it set it automatically as soon as it gets a new item that I send off, so this is kind of my base rule that works for most things. And the workflow that I use for this rule is I want to first uh, look at my competitors, and this is a price against buy box, so that means it's going to look at the buy box price. I want to compete against every single seller in the buy box, and then I do something to that to try and obtain the buy box, whatever I think is good. So maybe I'll match them if it's FBA, and I'll go above them 10%, if it's FBM potentially. And then after that, when I obtain my own buy box and when I get in the buy box, then I only want to go up in price to the FBA or FBM seller, assuming that, I'm FBA in this case. If I'm FBM and I get the buy box, well, that's magic. I guess you might keep it for a while and maybe I'll lose it, who knows. But that's what I want to do. That's why I don't always price against in the buy box settings. I don't always look at FBM while I'm in the buy box. And I only like to go up because sometimes when you're matching, or if you go penny under and you say raise or lower, it'll look at the next person below you and it'll start pricing you down in the buy box instead. So I don't do it that way. You have to experiment with it. Maybe that works for you, but this is kind of what I use. So these are the settings, so buy box settings, I say raise to and 0, which matches them, and I only compete against Amazon and FBA. And then I use the price change safety net. It's helpful, because it doesn't change as much all at once, but you have to keep in mind that it's per repricing change. So right now everybody is at least a minimum, or a maximum of 15 minutes, and some plans are 5 minutes if you have the accelerated plus. Is that what it is?
Right. Yes.
Okay. And so Wesley's back. Wesley, if you have any other comments, we'll go back and we can talk about it. We just went over and said how it's awesome for a positive repricing, that everyone should use it, and there's a lot of people that like it. So if you have any other comments, totally mention them and we'll go back to it for sure.
Yeah.
So I use the price change safety net. It doesn't hurt anything. It just doesn't jump instantly down to, the bottom all at once, but it will slowly go down as it reprices, so it eventually will get there, every 15 minutes, but it's every 15 minutes or every 5 minutes instead of instantly from $1,000 down to 0, kind of instance. Hopefully that's not the case, but that's what could happen. So we'll go to the next one, next part of the rule. So now these are the repricing settings. These are what happens when you're trying to obtain buy box, but you don't have buy box. So I set it to compete against buy box price. That's what I told you before. This is a buy box price rule. It only looks at buy box, not the lowest FBA or the lowest price. And so I compete against all merchants. Really, you wouldn't need to compete against non-featured, I guess, but I checked them anyway. So when the buy box winner is found between min and max price, I just say minus or plus $0. So that means it matches it. And when it equals min price, I just want it to be the min price because I'm trying to match them as an FBA versus FBA instance. And when there's no competition, this is what I use. I do a plus 50% of my min price. I don't remember exactly what ROI that roughly comes to, but I believe it's above 100% because my ROIs I set for my min price are about 30%, give or take. And so 50% extra is typically a pretty reasonable price. It's not too much, but it's a lot higher than you probably would have been offering while you had competition. And then when here's the infamous part of the rule here, when it's below min or above max, I just changed do not reprice, so that's the case there. And then when there's no buy box winner found, which means when it's suppressed, it's do not reprice. And when it's suppressed, typically, I have to do this manually, but if it stays suppressed, which is often what happens for those kind of listings, unless you're in like some Q4 case, I switch to a lowest price rule instead, so then you can then compete while the buy box is suppressed if you feel that's important, which sometimes it is. You could be $20 off and you wouldn't be selling because you're so far off of everybody else. And then I do the price change safety net here. 2 as well, same case. It's just a little bit of extra protection. Doesn't mean anything necessarily in the end game because it's every repricing period. So go to the next one. Okay, and these are advanced settings. So these kind of override your repricing settings that you have set. So I have a special setting when I'm FBA versus FBM. I want to go 10% above the buy box price when they're in my min-max range. And then when they're my min price, I still want to be above 10% because that's my min price, and I want to still maintain that 10% spread because you should be able to still get buy box for most cases. There was that one case where I didn't. And then when it's min price, you just want to, if it's below, too far below, then you want to use min price. And this is the adjusted price or min price. We're looking into it, I think, Michael, right, about someone mentioned earlier where these cases happen where the person is, your competitor is like just a penny below your min price, but your adjusted price would be still in your min and max price range. So you're thinking about maybe still being able to compete against those cases, you're thinking?
Yeah, we're looking at various ways to improve improve repricing for the next update. And yeah, one of the things that Chris mentioned that this would be very helpful for is so even though they're below your min price, like if you're repricing up against them, like the end result is above your min price, and so that's where you want to be. You want to be closer to your min price. You don't want to necessarily be like pushed up higher. You want to be close to your min price, but still above it. So that might be the ideal situation.
Yeah. So anyway, so these are the settings that I recommend for now. That edge case is what's annoying, and it can get you, but most times, it's not that big of a deal. And the other one I have is FBM versus FBA. I just kind of do the converse method. I do the buy box price minus 5% when I'm FBM, on the listing, and then when the buy box is min price, I use my min price. I don't want to go below my min price. That's the whole point of a min price, is that you don't go below that. In both cases, there, you would need to go below min price typically to obtain buy box, in most cases. But so I use this rule for both FBA listings and FBM listings, and it works pretty well typically. So we'll go to the next one.
Awesome.
And so these are some custom settings. There's some things that you could totally set up if you wanted to further, excluding sellers and excluding other things like that. But I just do the feedback. I don't really want to compete against sellers that have really low feedback ratings or counts. I've been pretty happy with the exclude backorder sellers because typically you can obtain buy box, at a higher price. So that's been working pretty well. And then excluding handling time longer than 2 days, assuming that I ship my stuff out FBM within 2 days like you normally would, and assuming that you're at FBA, so it ships out right away, so you have an advantage. And then the conditions, so this is sub-conditions. Somebody mentioned something about how to set up rules for booksellers. This is going to be your bread and butter right here, is the price, how you price against sub-conditions. I don't have a total answer for this, I guess, because I don't have a lot of experience. I'm not really a bookseller, used seller, but I go with the same or better condition. That's more a positive approach. I don't know if that's as competitive as you need to be in most cases, but you can totally customize that. It would definitely be good to seek out somebody that has more experience with books and used products to maybe come up with a better rule for specifically used conditions or sub-conditions. But you can compete against any sub-condition now, so it's a lot better.